When you're thinking about yourself, no one wants to face their own mortality. And even in the back of your mind, you're like, well, I'm going to live forever. I don't need to go talk to a funeral director. And if you're the child of someone who is going to need services, that is something too that I don't want to bring that up to mom, especially after they got sick.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
Welcome to Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about. This is going to be a different and exciting episode. Our guest today is Blair. And so before we dive in, Blair, could you introduce a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes. So my name's Blair Overton. I'm a fourth generation funeral director in Iowa. So my lineage goes back to the old furniture store undertaker shop where the gentleman who built the casket would earn a little bit extra money by laying out of the dead. And so that's my lineage. And so I've been in Iowa most of my years. I went to the University of Iowa and got a degree in economics. And then I wanted to see the world a little bit. So I went out to Boston. So in Boston's where I got my mortuary license. And then I came back and joined my father and his firm. And then my dad died young, about 68 when he passed away. And so I took a couple partners and we acquired my father's places, and then we acquired more places in Des Moines. And so I've been doing funeral service in a town of 800. I've done a funeral service in the greater metro Des Moines, the largest city in Iowa, and I own 2 cemeteries, and I also own a cremation society. So I've touched all the bases in regards to end of life here in Iowa, and I'm blessed. My eldest son, Alex, is a funeral director, so he's generation number 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that something he always wanted to do or came to work with you?
No, I really did not push it at all. He got a degree at Iowa and then wanted to do business in some capacity. And so then his mother kind of leaned on him a little bit, and I needed some help at the time. And I'm like, but it's got to be Alex's choice. My wife's name's Whitney. And she goes, I know, let me handle it. So we had a lot of in-depth conversations about it, but he decided that he wants to do it. And actually, he's really got it. His mother's a nurse. My wife's a nurse, and she's really got that empathetic gene. And so Alex is really better at connections and building trust than I am. And so I'm glad to have him.
Yeah, I'm excited for this episode. I know when we first had like an original conversation, we talked about how most people like don't talk to a funeral director until their first death in the family. And you were talking about how you should interview homes and all these things, which I found amazing. So there's 1,000 questions we're going to cover today. At Purse Strings, we talk so much about having your end of life plan and your estate plan and all these different things. And so we just thought this would be another fun aspect to throw in there. So just to get started, let's be real. Most people would literally do anything else than talk about death. And so, why do you think we avoid these conversations so much, even with the people closest to us?
Mortality. When you're thinking about yourself, no one wants to face their own mortality. And even in the back of your mind, you're like, well, I'm going to live forever. I don't need to go talk to a funeral director. And if you're the child of someone who is going to need services, that is something too that I don't want to bring that up to mom, especially after they got sick. So now they're going to feel like you're going to show them the door. So it's just one of those things that, it's just an easy thing to procrastinate. There's always going to be another day. And so that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. And I feel like I see this a lot, like when we talk about estate plans too. Is some reason I feel that people, once they make the document, then they're going to die somehow. Like signing it finally leads to death, which is not true. But sometimes it just seems that way. Once you talk about it enough, it's going to happen, which granted, it's going to happen one day to all of us, but it might not be today.
So I have a question. You've been doing this for a long time, and small towns, big towns, like you said, but what's something that people still don't understand about what happens when someone passes?
That you have choices. One of the things that really surprises me is how many families that we talk to that come in with absolutely no direction. And it's like, you've never discussed this. And that is a true statement. They've never discussed it. There's so many things that you have to cover. My dad always said we wear a lot of hats. Not only are we a caregiver, we have to be a technician in regards to the human body, and you have to be a business person. So you wear a lot of hats, and we bring all of those to bear. Money has to do with everything. It doesn't matter what you do in America or what you want to pursue. One of the things you got to figure out, okay, how much is this going to cost me? It's shocking the amount of times that people come in, have no idea how much it's going to cost. Yeah, have no idea how they're going to pay for it. And here we are. And we have all this time to prepare, and we just don't. So as far as what surprises me is, no matter how hard I try, how hard it is to get in people to come and see me before they need me, because that's the easier way to do it.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, the first time I ever talked to a funeral director was when my mother passed. And Maggie, I think you came with. And then a few of my siblings were there, and they were going through all the different things that needed to be done. And the cost associated, I was shocked. I had no idea how expensive it was. And at least, depending on what your choices are, right, Blair? You tell us.
No, that's exactly so. And in today's America, I own a cremation society and I own funeral homes. In my funeral homes, I have one that's very nice, got a big chapel, a lot of parking. It's a really nice place. I also have another funeral home that caters to affordability. It's a smaller place, less services, but you get the same people, the same care. It's just, what are you looking for as a price point? I use that funeral home a lot when I'm going to a church. So if you're having your services at the church, you don't need my big, beautiful funeral home. You've got that covered. So the Brooks, or I name it Brooks, is a better option for you. And so the thing that people, when Maggie, you said it, is I've shocked you, told me to go look around. And that's true. The number one reason to go to a funeral home is previously served. That's the people's first choice. Statistically, when our association looks at those things, why'd you pick your funeral home? Previously served is always the number one answer, which is fine. If they did a great job before, why wouldn't you go back? But if you are looking for options, or you're new to an area, or you don't have that option anymore, take the time to go explore and see what other things might be of a better fit for you.
So what are some of those questions you should ask? I mean, I feel like the options I know are like buried, cremated, ceremony, no ceremony. So like, if you're interviewing places prior, like, what are some things you should look at?
Final disposition. So what you said when you said burial or cremation or anatomical gift, we call those final dispositions. So if you know that you're going to use cremation, then maybe a cremation society is something you ought to look into. Now, most cremation societies help with cremation, but they really do not have a lot to offer as far as ceremonies or celebrations of life or something like that. If you are looking at funeral homes because you want to have a viewing, that's the first thing I usually see with people is, okay, who still wants to see? Because here in Iowa, even if you use my cremation society, we do call what's called a final viewing, and it's restricted to immediate family because we're not doing an embalming. But if somebody does want to have a final view before the cremation take place, they can do that. Now, if you're going to have a visitation, if you're going to have a service where you're inviting people into the funeral home, you want to have an evening of gathering so people come and pay their respects, and then have a burial or a cremation after the funeral, then you're looking at a funeral home. Then you want to see, okay, what funeral home amenities are meeting my needs. If it's, sometimes somebody prominent or young or something passes away, you need to be cognizant of that, right? How much space are we going to need? How much parking are we going to need? So having those things figured out, or taking the time to do your due diligence to see what your options are, I think that's good planning.
I'm thinking about like I remember there were a couple kids in high school who passed away. And so almost the whole school comes to the local funeral home in the town. And so, it was packed, which was what you want to see, but it's also like, you're right, you have to make room and parking and all those things for everyone to come, which when you have the whole high school show up, it's a big group of people.
Hope I never have to do it again, but I've had a couple young people like that where we actually went to the school. We used the gym.
Oh,
The only place we could really get everybody in. If I never have to do it again, I'll be fine.
yeah. So if we're talking financial planning for funerals, what kind of monies do you think people should plan for? Like, was there a ballpark people should consider? I mean, I know there's probably a range.
There is, and it's really geographically based. And I know your podcast is all over. So for here in Iowa, and I'm just sitting, like I said, this is just me in Iowa, just as a range to give you a little bit of a quantify it. With my cremation society, I can do what needs to be done for $1,025. There's not services, but I can take care of the needs, things that have to happen for disposition for $1,000. In my Brooks places, I can have a traditional funeral for about 8 to 10,000 would be, because you need the services, you need the casket, you need the burial vault, you need the cemetery. Those things just add up. So in Iowa, you're gonna spend 8,000 at least, most likely, if you're having a traditional funeral. It can go up from there big time. I know there's areas of the country where their average funeral price is $15,000 to $20,000, in a major metropolitan area at a high-end location. But that's a big range. That's $1,000 to $2,000 to $20,000, and you can be anywhere in between, which again leads to the reason, okay, why don't you ask ahead of time what you think it might cost rather than walk into your jaw drops, which sounds like you experienced.
Yeah. I mean, that was me. My parents planned for it and had funding for it. I was just surprised. Talk about funding. There are a lot of GoFundMe pages because people have not planned for it, or you can buy life insurance just to fund your funeral as well, for final expenses as well. So it's just interesting to know, what are those final expenses? What does it encompass? What are the kind of funding that we should have available?
Yeah, and can I go on a tangent? You mentioned life insurance, and here's some good information. So we use life insurance with people that have already purchased all the time. And so we do what's called an assignment, where basically we work with the family, the funeral home, and the insurance company, execute an assignment that you can send to the insurance company. What they do is they automatically pay me directly. So the beneficiaries are directing the insurance company to pay directly the funeral bill. Those are amazing. The pitfalls of that we run into all the time is the beneficiaries. So one of the things is, a lot of times husband and wife went and got an insurance policy. They made, I'm the beneficiary of yours, you're the beneficiary of mine. Well, the first spouse died, everything was fine. Then the second spouse died, and mom's still the beneficiary on that policy. That then creates kind of a paperwork nightmare, and that makes it more difficult. The easiest time to fix and to find out about an insurance policy is before someone passes away. And Ed McMahon sold a ton of insurance in this country, right? Your benefits never decrease, your premiums never increase. Sold gazillions of them. Well, what they never said is that if you quit paying on it, it's no longer there. So a lot of kids know, well, mom's got that policy, right? And then they bring it in, and I'm the bearer of bad news. Well, unfortunately, this lapsed. So they didn't know that. So an insurance review, if you're thinking of using insurance for your parents or for your wishes, then by all means, check on it before death occurs, because once death occurs, it's too late and a lot harder.
And so I want to dive into some of these conversations about planning. And so, like, what's one question you wish more women would ask about end of life planning, but seem to never ask?
Well, if you're thinking about your parents, and I'm not saying this to be harsh at all, I'm not, and do it with tact. It's just a simple, Mom, are you expecting us to pay for your funeral expenses? And she'll probably go, well, absolutely not. And that triggers in her mind, well, dang it, maybe I ought to think about that. And so that little trigger just gets them down the path of, maybe we ought to go figure this out for what we want to do. Now, the caveat of that I counsel a lot is, yes, it is wonderful if you go and take care of your funeral expense. What's not wonderful is if you set something up that your kids are like, oh no. And what I mean by that, a lot of regret doesn't come from overspending. A lot of regret comes from not spending enough. Meaning that, yes, you're going to die. Your goodness in your heart to protect your children means that, okay, I'm going to protect my kids from all of this nastiness that happens when I die. The reaction to that is I'm going to do as least amount as possible so that they don't have to go through it. Any psychologist, anybody who knows about grief, anybody who deals with these things knows that one of the most important part of healing and getting through grief is acknowledging the death and going through the tears and getting on the path to healing. What happens is they get in, we don't do any services for mom or dad, and they're left feeling empty. They haven't had a chance to trigger grief. They haven't had a chance to get the compassion, the goodwill, the care, everything that comes to you when you invite people in to help you, which is what peers are. They are the way people invite people in to help you.
And so part of that of like not processing the grief, and I know we talked about this on our previous call, and it really stuck with me, is I find this to be most common with men and with dads, is they're always like, well, don't worry about me, just put me out to pasture, and you don't need to celebrate it, just keep on keeping on, don't spend your money here, right? Which part of that is you're not processing that grief, and you hear this a lot. And so how do you tackle this with families when they just say, don't worry about me, don't spend your money there, yada?
Yeah, and this is wonderful. The social workers are great at this, and this is why I try to get with them a lot, because this comes up a lot in hospice. So the person who is in the process of dying is doing everything they can to help the people who are going to miss them, that love them, that are going to be behind. And so what they do is I'll be fine. I'm good. I'm ready to die. Don't worry about me. Don't do anything. So they're trying to lay the groundwork that I'm going to protect you. But a lot of times with that protection comes with, for whatever motivation is, you don't have to do anything for me. Whether it's, I don't want you to spend the money, or I'm trying to help you process this by avoidance rather than acceptance. And so, yes, unfortunately, it's a very male tendency to do that. But what ends up happening is that their heart's in the right place, but it's counterproductive to the healing of the people they leave behind. So we'll be sitting in a room talking about services, and we're having this debate where, one child, like, I really want to have a service, a celebration of life. And then the other sibling is saying, well, dad told us he didn't want that. And so now you have conflict, and it stems from the fact that it was good intentions. The heart was in the right place, but unfortunately it just left something that was needed to be overcome rather than paving the way for a good resolution and a good start to the grieving process. And when I say my social workers do a good job, because they are usually who run into this, when someone's dying, and they'll talk to the family. It's like, what do you guys want to do? Remember, you're here to grieve. You're here to be the survivors. They're going to pass away. They're going to their reward. This is about what you need. And so God bless them on that work, because a lot of times we do come in and they were talking about it, but we end up having a celebration of life or whatever form that moralization takes. And it's a positive thing. It's always a positive thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's tough because you want to honor their wishes, but you also need to get through it yourself and grieve. So you know how much they meant. So you just don't want to brush it by and keep chugging along.
Yeah. And the other thing it does, when I said an invitation, what I mean by that is we're very social people, right? I mean, when one of our friends lose someone, we're not going to ignore that fact. So when you set up a time, whether it's a gathering or a visitation or a celebration of life or a funeral at the church, you're inviting people in to come to help you. If you don't do that, what happens? And my dad said it a good way. He'd say, do you want one visitation or 100? And what he meant by that is when you give people an opportunity to come help you, they'll show up. If you don't, they're going to try to comfort you or acknowledge your loss or be there for you at the next opportunity, whatever that is. It could be in the grocery store. It could be at your next dinner with them. It could be whatever form that takes. So you're no longer in control with when you're going to revisit your loss. Now you're at the mercy of revisiting that loss whenever that person who cares about you runs into you the next time. And I don't think that can be overstated. I think that is important. I think when you have that celebration or whatever it is, and you start that process of going on the path of recovery and going on the path of grief, there's all sorts of positives to that. And if I can quote my dad again, I do it all the time to my son, it drives him nuts, but he'll learn. Dad used to say that grief is a wall that goes infinite in both directions. And he said, there's just no way to get around it. The only way to deal with grief is to hit it head on and climb that wall and get over it and get to the other side, because you're not going to be able to avoid it. And so having services and things like that not only provide me a living, which it does, but it also is something that is necessary in the construct of our human existence and our social networks.
It's a great point from him. I can see people everywhere just giving their condolences, and you're just like, I'm just trying to get my groceries and move on. I don't need to open up this wound every time I'm at the Kroger or something like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's people listening and they're thinking, I know I need to probably address something like this. Maybe they know someone in their family who's dying. They haven't taken this step. They're putting it off. What do you think one small step could be that they could do now to move them forward?
Everyone is different. The thing that we offer that I wish more people took advantage of, and every state does, is to do the pre-planning, right? Is to actually go and sit down and go as far as you want to go with whatever. We have counselors that do it for a living. That's their work. They meet with people ahead of time and they help them build a plan. You can pay for it ahead of time, and I can touch on that, the benefits and the pitfalls of that. But mostly is take the time to walk into a location and ask the questions. Otherwise, you are at the mercy of, talking about it and, what type of services do you want? That's a good first step. I mean, that's better than nothing. But to go in and actually make a plan is important. And I can honestly attest to when we help families, when they come to see us, and if someone passes away, when they walk through our door and we get out the file and we say pretty much everything's finished. And they're like, oh, thank you. It's just the relief is palpable. They know that it's going to go fine. They can concentrate on family and rest, making other connections, and not have to chase down all these details to get ready for this service. And so all of that is a win-win. If you go in and plan ahead of time, it's a win-win. It's win financially and it's a win psychologically.
So how do you, let's dive more into this pre-planning. I mean, I'm sure it's people like, if you die of a heart attack, you just didn't know and you didn't get that done. But I'm assuming it's like an older group of people that come in and do this, maybe with their families.
Yeah. You know what? It's just, I always say, and I'm not an expert and every family is different, but when you're getting your house in order at the retirement time, right? So where your retirement is, this is where we're going to live, hon, until, it's our time to go on to greater pastures, and you have that finality of your life. This is where we're going to be till the time comes. That's a good time because it dovetails nicely with retirement, with insurance, with all those other financial things that you need to tie down at the end of life. The thing that I mention a lot is when you want to pre-plan and you're talking about the financial aspect of it, that is a very much a state-to-state issue. So every state has their own regulatory or consumer protection laws that deal with the pre-planning of funerals. Iowa does a great job. So Iowa, you can use a vehicle, whether it's insurance or you can use a trust. I cannot have the money on a pre-plan. It either has to be held by the insurance company or it has to be held by the trusting agency. That's consumer protection, so that whatever happens to me, I know that, or the family knows, that their money will be there irregardless of what happens to me. That's good on Iowa, and every state has something similar to that. As far as paying for it, a couple things that your listeners or watchers want to keep in mind, and it's state by state. I would start there. I would start at go online, search funeral honors or funeral regulatory things for your state, see what your state does. And then when you go in to visit with your funeral director, then what I tell people is Iowa allows for a guaranteed contract. I know most states do. What is meant by that is you sit down and you pick out, this is exactly what I want. You pay that expense right then and there. The money goes in the trust. When you pass away, I'm contractually obligated to provide that service exactly how it was laid out. I'm not allowed to ask for any more money. If there's less money in that trust than what my current retails are, I took the risk of inflation. So the math of most of this, when you get to that planning age and your retirement age, is okay. In Iowa, I tell people, price is guaranteed. So for easy numbers, let's say it was $5,000. Okay. If you put $5,000 into something that's no risk, which would be like a CD at the bank, you're going to own, well, right now about 3 to 5% rate of return.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much more am I going to ask for that funeral in 5 to 10 years? So right now in today's economic situation with our country, guaranteeing the price of the funeral, your money ahead, because the price of that funeral is going to outpace what you would earn in that certificate of deposit. So it's not only good business, but you're also getting something that's going to help your family. And so pre-planning a funeral, you're not throwing that money away. It is going to be something that is going to have great value at some point in the future, and you're probably money ahead paying for it now than waiting and paying the bill in 10 years.
Wow, that's something I didn't know. And you say most funeral homes will do this.
Yes. And another benefit of pre-planning in Iowa, and I can speak for most of my colleagues around the country, there'll be some that can't do it because state doesn't allow it. But the nice thing about pre-planning is we offer payment plans.
Oh.
So if you do it ahead of time and you want to, I offer up to 3 years interest-free. So if you want to pay for it over time, because that fits your budget better, and you still get to keep the guarantee. So we execute it, pay that $5,000 over 3 years, you got a guaranteed plan, and you're set for when the time comes. Can't do that with a CD. And so that just is not only you're helping your family by making a plan for them, financially, it's a better deal than trying to come up with the $5,000 at that time, because I'm going to ask you for it. I don't have payment plans when someone passes away. But when someone passes away, here's how much it costs, and you got to pay me for it.
To have it all planned, thought out, and paid for, I mean, that's a gift to your loved ones. Mom, you got that?
Noted. I had no idea, but I'm so glad I learned that. I'm not kidding you. That's fantastic. We're going to put that in bold and let people know that. Thank you, Blair. That's fantastic.
Oh, good. I mean, I really never get a opportunity to say it to a larger audience, so I appreciate it. I say this a lot on an individual basis, but I don't get asked to do a lot of public speaking though I try. I go to the retirement centers and say, hey, I'm available if you guys want to do a lunch and learn, and they don't want the sales pitch, and I get that.
Hey, you know what? This is what our podcast is for, the shit we don't talk about. Now people know they can pre-plan their whole service the way they want it, and kids don't get into any arguments. They know it's paid for, and I think it's amazing. Just wait till I have those plans where people are dancing around and doing the cha-cha.
I'm all for that. I mean, one of the things we really promote too is our thought processes on what's appropriate when someone passes away have really evolved a lot. And that's good. You know, any gathering, anything over food, anything where you're gaining the support of one another, as long as it's met with a kind heart and for the benefit of all, then let's do it. The days of you got to go sit in the pew and be quiet until the church service starts, we can still do that. If that brings you comfort, we're happy to help you. If you want to have a night of gathering and have some wine and hors d'oeuvres, and you bet, let's do it. That's got all sorts of positives with it as well.
Do you find services are changing over the years? I mean, from very traditional to a little bit less?
The two trends that I see, some's good, some's bad. The trend to not doing anything, to just trying to ignore it and move on, is prevalent. I spent a lot of times trying to beat that back. Some of it is financially based. If you just don't have the money, then you are limited on options. Others is not that. It's just an unwillingness to accept and an unwillingness to have anything like that. The baby boomers are much more open to cremation, much more open to alternative services. If you look at it generationally, the silent generation's pretty much gone, and they were very much the traditionalist, go to the church, go to the cemetery. Past the baby boomers, who knows? That's going to be my son's problem. I won't be around to figure that one out. So.
I do have a couple more questions that were not on the list that I've just been curious about. People say you shouldn't say, I'm sorry for your loss. What are some things you should say when somebody loses someone in their life? Do you have good things people should say?
It's one of those hard things. And it all depends on the relationship, right? The easier ones, I think, are the ones who are super close because you're going to hug them and you're going to tell them you love them. And that's what you need to do. When it's an acquaintance, I usually try to tell people, say something positive. I worked with your dad, and man, I can tell you, I learned a lot from that man. People love to hear positive things about the person they lost. It's really not about them in the moment. If the person that you're talking to is super close to you, you are very much there for them, and they'll know that. If it's an acquaintance type of thing, saying positive things about the person that passed away just means so much to people. They just store that. It's something that they absorb, and it makes them feel better. Attitudes, they're hard to ignore. And also, I tell people, do tangible things. One of the things that a lot of people do is tell me, give me a call if you need something. No, just do something. Take them over some food. Offer to wash the car. Offer to do some laundry. Is there anything I can run and go get for you while you're working through this? Those real things that you can do that actually relieves a burden, not just putting a burden back on them to have to call you to go do something. I think that's important. Taking the initiative, if there's somebody close to you, find something that you can do for them that will help them. Don't put the onus back on them that they got to feel they got to call you in order to get something.
And I do have another question. You may or may not want to answer this one. Do you see ghosts?
Oh, I always tell everybody, if somebody's going to haunt somebody, it ain't going to be the undertaker. It's going to be the person that pissed them off. So, but my wife was a hospice nurse. And you talk to hospice nurses, they see things, experience things, sense things at the moment of transition that is really kind of interesting. And I'm not saying it's not spooky. It's just some things, a lot of things my wife would say that if you talk to people who are in that world, in hospice world, the things that the person who's dying is experiencing that you can't see or hear or touch, but they're reacting to something. But you'd have no idea what it is. They may say a name, they may say something, they may reach, so what they're seeing beyond the veil, if you will, is what a lot of hospice nurses think. As far as me, I'm boring. Nobody's going to worry about me in with their afterlife.
Should have expected that question coming from you. No, I think this is just a great conversation, and it's fun just to laugh a little bit about it with you and to have it kind of be, no one died here for this call today. Everyone can just be in a good random Wednesday, like I always talk about, is a great time to have these conversations of when no stress moment. And so I'm glad we kind of had this conversation with you, Blair, just so people could get some more insights and start kind of thinking about these things. But I know you've spent your life helping families plan for, some of these hardest moments of their lives. And this is a question we ask everyone. So of course it's asked to you as well. What does financial freedom look like to you after really doing this work for so long?
To me, it's peace of mind. If you can get to a point where you have peace of mind in regard to finances, because think throughout your life how many times you did not have peace of mind due to financial situations. And if you can add some peace of mind to your existence by doing something like this or by doing a little bit more planning, that's wonderful. And I hope everybody can get into a situation where they have peace of mind in their later years, because I see some people that unfortunately life never gave them any stress-free days. And I hope most people can get to the point where they have stress-free days. So that may have not been the most eloquent answer, but it's what I came up with. So.
Yeah, you've seen a lot over your lifetime, and I think the work that you do is just impressive and so important. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I really appreciated it. I hope I did okay. And it was nice to meet both of you. And if you ever have any follow-ups, I'm not going anywhere.
And yeah, we'll make sure we have links to your business in the show notes, just in case people want to reach out, have questions, or need to use your services. I know you strictly serve Iowa. Is that correct? It's a licensed state-to-state situation?
Yeah, and it's very much a geographically locked industry. And so really I serve families within an hour of Des Moines. That's where I am. And if you're in that bubble, I'd love to have a conversation with you. But Des Moines is very fortunate. We have a very cordial and a very solid and high reputable businesses serving our families in this area. And so I'm thankful for that too.
Well, thank you so much, Blair, for coming on and sharing your expertise. And until next time, be financially fearless. You've been listening to Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about. Now it's time to take what you've learned and make bold moves towards financial independence. Stay in the know by joining our newsletter for exclusive tools, resources, and updates that keep you financially fearless. Head to pursestrings.co and sign up today. Need a financial professional who gets it? Turn to PurseStrings' curated directory, your go-to resource for financial experts who know how to put you first. Love this episode? Leave us a review and help us empower even more women to own their financial power. Until next time, be financially fearless.